Hi, I'm Rick Keppler.
And I'm Mark Durban. In parts 1, 2, and 3 of Living with Fire, we learned how the Big Bear Lake Fire Department was formed in 1927. Part 2 showed the 1940 arson fires that put Big Bear Village on lockdown. Part 3 told of the disastrous commercial butane fire of 1946 that was literally the most destructive fire in Big Bear history.
In this Part 4 episode, we are going to see how all those 1940 fires affected the evolution of firefighting in Big Bear.
This is the Bear Valley Milling and Lumber Company, established by Guy Maltby in 1928. It was located in Big Bear City on Big Bear Boulevard. Over the years, Maltby would become famous for his signature half-log siding that was used on hundreds of Maltby homes throughout Big Bear Valley.
And it was in 1930 when Maltby built this huge 3-story main clubhouse for the Peter Pan Woodland Club, the most exclusive resort in Big Bear. It was also located in Big Bear City, just a couple blocks east of Maltby's Milling Company.
Unfortunately, just 18 years after it was built, the Peter Pan Woodland Club lost its massive 3-story clubhouse in a fire during the early morning hours of June 18, 1948.
At that time, Big Bear City had a county fire station. And it is interesting to note that today's Big Bear Fire Station is now located on the same property once occupied by Guy Maltby's old Bear Valley Milling and Lumber Company. This image, taken years later in the 1980s, shows the abandoned Maltby Milling Company just before the Big Bear Fire Department took it over.
And this is what the property looks like today. Also, in the 1940s, just 2.5 years before the Woodland Club fire, Big Bear's most luxurious and expensive lakefront resort, Stillwell's, lost its main pavilion in a tragic fire on December 8, 1945. This was actually the second time Stillwell's had lost their main pavilion. The first time was 17 years earlier in 1928.
We could go on listing many additional fires, but by now we think that you get the idea. The 1940s was a rough time for fires at Big Bear Lake. However, out of all of this came a serious commitment to upgrade Big Bear Lake's firefighting facilities.
And as a result, by the end of the 1940s, the Big Bear Lake Fire Department had purchased additional firefighting equipment and had moved to a new, larger location on the west side of Pine Knot Landing, directly across the street from the burned-out Highlander Hotel.
But this location was only a temporary home. By 1950, the fire department had moved into a permanent base on the east side of Pine Knot Landing.
And years later, in 2000, the fire department moved to its current location, which is further east on Big Bear Boulevard. And this image shows what the old 1950 firehouse property looks like today.
The fires in the 1940s also motivated concerned Fawnskin residents to get proactive and petition the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors for their own fire protection district in 1946. And they got it. By 1949, Fawnskin had purchased 2 used fire trucks plus a small inventory of support equipment from Glendale, and they had also built a firehouse.
The dedication ceremony took place in the evening on July 20th, 1949. Fire Chief George Wilcox and the volunteer firefighters of Fawnskin welcomed over 500 Valley residents who showed up for this event.
And that event turned into a party when entertainer Mel Blanc showed up and sang his new song, Big Bear Lake. Mel's friend Bob Nolan of the popular Sons of the Pioneers was also there, entertaining the crowd with a medley of cowboy songs, including his now classic hit, Cool Waters.
The original 1949 firehouse, shown here in this article, was eventually replaced by today's firehouse as seen in this 2018 photo. Across the street from the firehouse, this popular gas station was built in 1946. It served the Fawnskin community for many years.
That old gas station has since vanished into history, But this new structure, located on the same property, is now used by the Fawnskin Fire Department to house additional equipment. As 1950 rolled around and the 1940s faded into history, Big Bear Lake was a whole lot better prepared to deal with the threat of fire. But the struggle was far from over.
Since the 1940s, things have changed. Recent global climate conditions have caused increasing temperatures and increasing dryness. The Department of Forestry and Fire Protection reported that California had over 7,000 wildfires in 2018, which burned over 1,500,000 acres.
The good news is, we now have firefighting resources today that were not available or even imagined 100 years ago. Even so, all of these resources can barely keep up with the dramatically increasing number of wildfires we are now experiencing every year.
So, fire prevention is now more important than ever. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us.
Follow us on Facebook or go to YouTube and click our subscribe button to get our latest Big Bear Lake historical videos as soon as they become available. See you next time.